Good morning, YouTube. Well, I'm here to talk about Empire. This will be season 3, episode 7. This is great. First, I really want to apologize because I kind of choked on Queen Sugar, and I saw that last night too. I choked because I was trying to do both shows and they were on right back to back. I kind of felt like if you don't do it the next day, no one's going to watch it. It's already too old. And so I didn't do the last couple episodes, and the last episode was last night. Oh, that was such a good series. That was such a good series. So I strongly recommend Queen Sugar. If you guys see what's the last episode called? Finale. Okay, so Empire. All right, Empire opens up with Cookie is yelling at what's her name? Not Tiana. They're having a conversation on the phone. Cookie's going off on Tiana. She don't want to do something or other. It opens that way, and there's a knock at the door. Okay, so the knock at the door is Angelo. Angelo shows up with relishing coffee and asking her because they broke up last uh, episode. Remember, he's asking her, "Are you in or you're out?" And then, of course, she wants to be in. She's really still smitten with this dude, and so uh, he invites her to have a gathering to meet his mother. He's running for mayor. His mother is apparently well connected in politics, so she's kind of a society type woman. And his mother is actually Felicia, played by Felicia Rashad, Mrs. Huxtable. So anyway, let me jump ahead of myself. Okay, so Angela shows up. Also, Cookie and Angelo have sex. Fortunately, we spare. I don't like sex scenes. I always wanted to get back to the show, but they have to show us they're very much into each other, literally. And Cookie's got I don't know, she's a dominatrix. The way she was coming at him, she was kind of the top. I heard about these women with these black dresses, these black bustiers in their closets and things, whips and chains and do. So she might be a dominatrix, so maybe that's what draws him to her. So anyway, so Nessa, okay, on the same night okay, so he wants her to meet his mother. Cookie said, okay, that'll be a great idea. She agrees to meet with his mother at this event. Okay, so she doesn't. They have this big fundraiser for his Mariel run. His mother is there, and Cookie doesn't show up. And the mother's hot about it. She feels like it's very disrespectful. This woman can't even show up to to meet her, particularly after she didn't show her titties. She called them sagging breasts all over the internet. This is like what's supposed to show her that she's not the type of woman. They're very into who he's with because if he's going to run for mayor. That means they're going to put her under the spotlight. But obviously, as we see through our own real life elections, that doesn't necessarily stop the show because your wife has shown body parts. Anyway, okay, so Nessa, okay, Nessa and Andre still together. Uh, so Nessa invites. Okay, Nessa is not really Shine's sister. We know that. Shine was very good friends with her brother, whose brother was killed. They were drug dealers together and they were business partners together. So every year they should throw a party to celebrate this man's passing. Uh, it's a neighborhood type thing. All people who knew them celebrate, and they meet at this building where the first property they owned together. So apparently they were doing pretty good in this drug world. But he got killed. Okay, so Nessa, Vanessa is Nessa. She invites Andre to attend. She thinks this is a good way for for him to meet her people, kind of thing. Okay, so while he's doing that, uh, Shine shows up. She said, "Shine, oh yeah, good news, bad news. Good news, I want you to come to the party. Bad news is Shine wants to kill you." So he doesn't literally want to kill him, but he shows up in where they're at, and he says they're free to Gats because they promised him free to Gats for his own label. He would be producing her, and free to Gats is saying that she's not going to do shit with Empire, even though they did do to get her out of jail, but apparently she hasn't let it go. So Shine's pissed off about that. He said, "I didn't spare your life, so you can burn me," kind of thing. Anyway, so okay, so Nessa tells him he wants Andre to come to the part and to bring free to Gats, and he's cool with it. Okay, Jamal's digs up. Okay, Jamal's project. We all know that Jamal hasn't been performing. He's had this PTSD behind the shooting, so he's still not been able to really get back on track. And so, but he's been working on something, this new project. So he digs up these old photos, home movies of Cookie and her two sisters and their father. Now Cookie sees this project he's working on. He's writing some music for this. This is going to be like some kind of interactive video thing that he's doing, something new. Although I don't see anything particularly new about. I mean, that's what they did with Lucius too, when he did his album and explained about the mother. But something new about it. They didn't explain it very well. So anyway, he digs up all of these old home movies with the family. And Cookie at first, when she sees him, he's working on his project, and she sees the clips. She's very happy at first because he brings her in. He wants to show his mother what he's working on, and he puts these home videos that have been redigitalized, obviously, and edited of her and the sister when they were young. And then when the movies show the father, her father, who she's very close to, they were raised by their father. Cookie freaks out. She says he cannot use those clips. How dare you dig that up? You should have asked my permission and all that. Although she was just cool with it until the father came into the picture. So there's something there. Uh, Jamal makes it a mission to go and find out what that something is, what the problem was. So he goes and sees the daughter Carol at the store she works. She sells extensions, hair. She's got a used shop. I guess she got herself together. Maybe she just works there. She doesn't own it, but she sells extensions, all kind of hair. So Jamal shows up there, and he tells her what happened, and she begins to explain what the history was. So in a flashback, they show us um, the relationship between the father and the girls. Cookie was actually put out of the house. Okay, the father was never down with her dating uh, Lucius. He was a drug dealer, a young teenager drug dealer, street person. He never liked him. He would never want to date her. But she continues to date him, and the father finds a gun and drug money in his house under her mattress. So Cookie gets put out. Now the significant thing about that is after she goes out, she's hanging out with Lucius in a hotel somewhere. It's like 3 days later, the father dies. So he put her out, and that's the last time they ever saw each other. And he dies. She pulls up, they're taking his body away. So that's been some like unresolved issue, something she's always carried. Because the girls, the sisters seem to think that Cookie caused his heart attack because he had to put her out. Anyway, that's explained. That's why she reacted when she saw when she saw her father. Eventually, she says, "Okay, go ahead and use it. I just don't want to look at it like that." So she allows him to use that footage. Okay, Felicia Richard. Okay, Okay, like I was, well, let me get back to that. I'm going to get back to this second meeting with arranged between Cookie and the mother, but that comes a little like towards the end, so I'll come back to that. Okay. Okay. Now Lucius, he still got this thing about Cookie. He doesn't want the relationship she's having. He doesn't want her to be happy. So uh, Cookie is having lunch with the other sister. What is his name? Carol. I forget the other sister's name. The one played by the girl, Fox girl. Yeah. Anyway, the older sister. So she's having lunch with her. Cookie wants her to show her how to behave because she wants to have another dinner with arrange another dinner on, with Angelo's mother. Okay, so tell me how to be a lady, how to handle myself at a table, stuff like that. Cookie's being kind of loud and obnoxious, at the table in this fancy restaurant. And then, lo and behold, Lucius shows up at the restaurant where she's having lunch with her sister. Her sister's trying to give her some etiquette lessons. And so he shows up and said, "Oh, I'm going to have some of my boys come here because one of my boys get out of prison or something like that." Other words, telling her that your party's gonna be here. This is where you're gonna meet her at. I'm having a party with gangsters here same night. Hope they're not too loud. And so he wants to shut that down. Later on, Cookie tries to make arrangements at other restaurants where they can have this meeting between Angelo and his mother. And he has apparently contacted all the restaurants. As soon as he says her name, Lion, it's no longer. He's already booked that restaurant. They can't have it there. So, Lucius is trying to throw a monkey wrench in this relationship, which he has done from the beginning. All right, so she's telling her sister that he's not going to allow this to happen. Maybe I should just break up with Angelo. It's going to be a big mess and all this. And her sister suggests, why don't you have it here? They're at her apartment at that point. Why don't you have a party here? And she looked around her house. She got a lovely apartment. This is New York. Suppose people live in apartments, not houses. But she's looking around because she got a few pictures up. It kind of reminds you of that scene out of the Birdcage. Remember how Birdcage, they had to change the whole house so you can meet the parents? What is that type of scene? Okay, so they go ahead and take all the dick pictures down. They're not nasty, but they're nudes. Take all that kind of stuff. All this. The woman belongs to PETA, so they're people who protect animals. They're against animal skins being used. And Cookie's got, her thing is animal prints. So she's got to take up rugs and anyway, they remodeled the apartment. Get rid of all the animal prints, all the hides and all this kind of stuff, all her fur coats and all this kind of stuff. Okay, so they get the house uh, uh, lady appropriate, but fancy lady appropriate. Okay, so now it's time for this big party. I think that's what happens next. All right. So first, they're having this big dinner for the mother, for Angelo's mother. So first, Jamal shows up at the door. She wants to have a dinner with Angelo and his mother, and also her family, so her kids, all three of her kids. She's asked them to please to be there. They were all committed to being there, even though Andre has another commitment with this thing that Nessa is insisting he be at. So Andre goes to the thing with Nessa's family and gets stuck there, so he doesn't show up. But Jamal shows up at the house and he is high as a kite. This child, he's flying on these pills. I don't know. Anyway, so he's high and he's acting very, very high. And she peeps that the moment he walks in the door, he got on these dark sunglasses. She removes the glasses. Of course, she slapped the shit out of him and says, "You're high." He says, "Oh, it's just the pills I started tonight, Mom." So he's got to play this. not drunk, but he's wobbly high. Okay, and soon after that, who shows up next? So he tells, "Go put some water in your face, whatever." Then there's so then the mother and Angelo show up at the door. She tries to, you know, explain that her son is the kind of the wild one or whatever. She's just trying to, I mean, what's his boy's name? Jamal is all in the woman's face, loaded, being too friendly, too familiar. And so then she starts saying, "Oh, I have another son," and when she mentions her other son, he shows up at the door. Now Lucius has planned this whole thing too. He knows about this get together, so he's told Akeem that he needs to babysit that during the time this party's going on. That there's no way around it. The woman to show up a couple of hours late, but he needs him to stay with the baby until then, whatever. So this is only so Hakeem won't show up at this party. Well, Hakeem does show up at the party anyway. So it's the second knock at the door, and he's got the baby. Of course, he's got on his hip hop outfits and all this kind of stuff. So he's going there telling her to please take the baby and all this kind. And then, so then she meets the second son, Hakeem. Moments later, guess who shows up at the dinner party? Lucius and the mother. Lucius and the mother. What's her girl? I'm having a hard time with these names tonight. Anyway, y'all know who he is. Anika. They both show up. So they're arguing with the boy because he left the house with the baby without them knowing about it and all that. So now Lucius goes into something. He goes and explains how, going around the room saying his son is gay and high. The other son is a baby daddy. He explains how this is my wife and that baby is Akeem is the father. Tells the whole story, all the business about the family. All to run this woman away because all along it's all about him stopping those two, Cookie and Angelo, from getting together. And so this is dangerous. They have Cookie has Jamal go over and perform this music he's been talking about, and it's a song to his mother. So it's telling this whole story about her background or whatever, and it's a good mama song, and but it's done so well. They shouldn't be showing him doing drugs and then performing well. If they're going to have him on drugs, they should have him fucking up on drugs because that's like promoting. That's how people get hooked. They think they can perform only when they're high, and it ends up a huge mess. But that's the way they present it. He does this beautiful thing. Lucius goes over, stands by the piano, and looks at it. So I can't tell if he's being critical or trying to get him to stop, or he's just admiring this music. And Jamal says, "This is what I've been working on." So Lucius leaves. In a gentlemanly way, he quietly leaves. So I guess he's taken by the song also. Because remember, he did love Cookie, and they had this long relationship before she got thrown in prison. She does also mention that Cookie was in prison. I mean, Lucius does also mention to this woman that Cookie was in prison for 17 years. So after they've gone, the drama has stopped and everything. Cookie's giving up on this dinner that she tries to serve this big fish thing. And Angelo tells her that, "Oh, I didn't tell you, my mother's allergic to all shellfish and all seafood." And so now she ain't got no food to serve this woman. So Lucius leaves after Jamal's song, and then the mother has a private talk with with Cookie. She does admire her art. She's kind of admiring some of the pieces they do. She didn't change her artwork. She just took the other ones that had nudes in it. So she's admiring this work. She likes this artist. And then she tells her they have it one on one. And Felicia Rashad, I don't know what the mother's name is, the actor. I mean, the character's name is, but Felicia Rashad. She tells her how her father was a bootlegger and her grandfather was some other, he was a smuggler. And then we came from uh, people like you. And in fact, you remind me of the people we came from, but we cleaned ourselves up. Obviously, you haven't, but anyway, so she said, I understand. That's why my son is attracted to you, because basically you remind him of me, of us. But we have cleaned ourselves up. You will have to follow suit. Just don't mess up with my boy. Don't mess up with my son. So as I said, ordinarily, to have a girlfriend like Cookie probably would cause you some serious problems trying to run for mayor of New York City, country's biggest city. But as Trump has proven to us, it ain't necessarily so. Okay, so we'll finish this up with Shine's party. Okay, so Shine has his block party. All the people who knew the brother, the one who died, who was Ness's real brother. They have this thing. It's outdoors in front of the building, one of their first buildings, or their first building that they bought together. Andre shows up with now they've been very creative with this commercial they're doing, because when Andre shows up, the console says Continental. This, they're one of the sponsors, primary sponsors. So we can see that you're seeing the inside of a Lincoln Continental. And when he gets out, they zero in on this special door that they have. So it's a commercial, but I caught it, which I guess is the point for Lincoln Continental. Anyway, so at first she doesn't want to get out of the car. She don't want to do nothing has anything to do with Empire. Andre convinces her that either you're going to sit here on your pretty pot and your life is going to drift off into nothing, or you're going to stand up. She gets out of the car, and she's not impressed by what Andre says. What she's impressed by is this crowd, because this group that's meeting there is very similar to her life, because her father was, Frank Gathers, was a huge drug dealer. And so Nessa does a song dedicated to her brother and the lifestyle and everything. And she gets into it. Pretty Gas does, because she didn't know her brother, but she knew another man like that. And so she gets into this rap. And they tell the story of what's going on currently, which they often do on Empire, about how the situation with Empire and all this kind of thing. So real life is inserted into the song, but the songs are very similar. The type of people they're singing about. You're singing about your brother. I'm singing about my father, but it's essentially the same type person. So they have a great song together, the two of them. I think that's it. Okay, so the pop family song. All right, so that was Empire. It was episode 7. So I don't know what's going to go on with Empire. I think they do one more or 2 more episodes, and then they go off on this spring break thing. I wish they would just play straight through, so we can keep our momentum on this series. But I still my favorite show on television right now. My favorite all-time show is Sopranos. So nobody's can't touch that. But these two are great. Queen Sugar and this Empire. I just wish Empire would be consistent and not take all these breaks. That's the only thing that kind of annoys me. Okay, see you next week.